Welcome to this predicted paper from onmaths. This paper represents the best guess for the upcoming exams. Please use this paper in addition to your other revision. You can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our onmaths site. Onmaths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions, and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing. Enjoy! If there were 39 people on the bus, and 4 people got off the bus, that would leave 35 people remaining on the bus. So the fraction of people staying on the bus is 35 out of the 39 people on the bus. So our answer is, as a fraction, 35 over 39. And we can't cancel that any further. So 55% is the same as 55 over 100. And what I can do is I can divide top one of the fraction by 5. And so that is going to equal 11 over 20. Now in total there are 20 squares here because there's 5 across and 4 down. 5 times 4 is 20. And if there's 20 squares and we're looking to shade in 11 20ths, it's just going to be 11 squares. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Something to realise in this table we're given in this question is that the triangle has 3 sides, quadrilateral 4, pentagon 5, and hexagon 6. And that number is just 2 less than the number of faces. So basically, if you've got the number of sides, you add 2. So 4 plus 2 is 6, 5 plus 2 is 7, and 6 plus 2 is 8. So if we've got 20 sides, and we just do the same thing, so we're just adding 2, then we should have 22 faces. So our answer is 22. To answer this question, we basically need to find the lowest common multiple of the 10 minutes here and the 15 minutes here. So we're going to start off just by doing the 10 and 15 times table. So it'd be 10, 20, 30, and 15 times table with 15 and 30. So the lowest common multiple is 30. So after half an hour, these buses will sync up. They'll both leave at the same time. And all buses start service at 9 o'clock. So it will be half an hour after 9 o'clock, which will be 9:30. So what we need to do is find out where the graph is at its highest. And so it's highest here. And so if we go down from there, we find out what year it is. Well, these years seem to be going up in 1. So that's 1950, 1951, 1952. So the answer would be 1952. So firstly, we're going to work out what the percentage increases are as a multiplier. So we start off with 100%. Jane has a 1.2% interest pay rise, sorry, and so that would be 101.2%, and we divide that by 100. To make it a multiplier. So the multiplier is 1.012. So we get the 20,000 times it by 1.012, and that gives us 240. Next we do the same for Lenny, so that is Jane. And so let's do Lenny. And so that's 100%. Plus the 1.5% will be 101.5%. Make that a multiplier, 101.5%. We divide that by 100, which gives us 1.015. And then finally what we do is we get the 17,000 times it by the multiplier. And when we do that, we get 255. So Lenny has 255, Jane has 240. So it says which of the employees has a larger pay increase and by how much. So the answer will be Lenny, and it's by £15 because that's the difference between these. You will need to use a paper and pencil to do this physically. You can't really do this on the computer. And make sure you have a ruler and a compass. So the first thing we're going to do is draw our 10 centimetre line. And we're going to get our compass and we're going to measure the 6 centimetres for the left hand side. So we're going to measure 6 centimetres on our compass. And we're going to just put a little arc there. We're going to do the same on the other side for 8 centimetres. So we're going to do our 8 centimetre arc from the right hand side, and we're going to put the point of the compass here. And it should be like that. And you can see where the two arcs overlap, which is here. And we can join these up with straight lines. And it says to measure the angle X. So we're going to need a protractor for this bit. I'm going to put our protractor here with the crosshairs matching here. So we're going to be looking at the inside, the outside one, and it comes up as 37 degrees. So our answer is 37 degrees. So we know that the mean is the sum of numbers over the amount. But in this question, we're actually given what the mean is. We're given that that is 29. We're also given the fact that there are 4 cards, so we're given the amount. So what we can do is just get our lines in and solve this. So what we're going to do is just times both sides by 4. So we're going to do 29 times 4, which is 116. And so we know that the sum of the numbers will be 116. So all we need to do is to find the 4th card, is get that 116 and just take away the numbers that we know. And when we do that, we get the answer 26. Now you can easily check this by adding up 37, 26, 27 and 26 again, and then dividing it by 4, and you will get 29. The lowest point on this graph is here, and that's at point 6, and the highest point is here at point 20. And we're looking for percentage change or percentage increase, and the formula is change over original times 100. So the change between the 6 and the 20 is 14. The original, the starting point, was the 6 and times by 100. And that gives us 233.333 blah 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 percent. And this 100 technically is 100% that we're timesing it by. So it says it wants it to the nearest percent, so that would be 233%. So we have an original amount, and this represents 100% of the original amount. The new price, or new amount, represents 113% because it has said that it has gone up by 13%. So it has increased by 13%. And as a value, that increase is £1,287. So it's 13% of the original. It's gone up 13% of the original price. So what we're going to do is we're going to work out what 1% of the price increase is. Instead of 13%, we're going to work out what 1% is. And we're going to do that by dividing the amount by 13. And we get 99. So 1% represents £99. So 1% of the original represents £99. But the new amount is 113%. So we need to times the £99 by 113, which gives us £11,187. So the picture is now worth £11,187. So we have a set of vertically opposite angles here and here. And we're going to start with those because we have to find out what m is before we can work out what x is. And vertically opposite angles are always equal, so we've got 13m plus 39 is going to equal 2m plus 149. And we're going to get our lines in there because we're going to solve this. And to solve this, we first of all take away the smaller amount of m, because we've got m's on both sides. We can't really cope with that when we're solving. And so we've got a 13m and a 2m. So we're going to remove the 2m. We're going to take that away from both sides to start off. And so we're left with 11m plus 39. And we've just got the 149 on the right hand side. Next we're going to remove the number. So take away 39 from both sides. And we've got 11m is equal to 110. And then we're going to divide both sides by 11 to find out what m is. So m therefore equals 10. So we know if m equals 10, we can then work out x. And the way we can do that is the fact that this one and this one are both on a straight line. So they are both on this straight line here. So we know that they've got to add up to 180. So let's write that down. 13m plus 39 plus x is equal to 180 degrees, or I don't normally put that in for the working out, I always put that in for the answer. So we can solve this, or well, first of all we know what m is, so it'd be 13 times m, which is 130, and then we can solve this. So let's get my solving lines in. And so that's going to be 169 plus x equals 180. And we're going to just take that away from both sides, the 169. So we've got x equals 11. So the value of x will be 11 degrees. So for this question, we just need to pick one of the coordinates. And I'm just going to pick this one here. And we just need to work out what the coordinates are. Well, it's going up in 2, so it's going to be 4 on this side, and this is kind of 4.5, so that's going to be 19 there. So we know it's 19 at the bottom and 4 at the side here. So we're going to have a look on our table for a 4 and a 19. We've got a 19 and 23 here. It's got to be a 4 and a 19, which is here. And it shows that the 4 is for paper 1 and the 19 is for paper 2. So our answer will just be paper 2. So we first of all need to understand how much interest there was in the first year. So we're looking at what 41.3%, so 41.3% of 156 is. And to do that, we convert the percentage into a decimal by dividing by 100. So that'd be 0.413 times by, because of means times in maths, 156. And so when we do that, we get 64.428. So next, we need to understand what simple interest means. Now, simple interest really is simple. And the reason it's simple is it's always the same. So we've got the 156, and we've got the interest for year 1, and we've got the interest for year 2 will be exactly the same number. Now, I could do this a bit easier by timesing it by 3, or we could add it 3 times. Either way, you get the answer of, I should put equals down here, we get the answer of 349.284. But because it's money, we need to round to 2 decimal places. So our answer will be 349.28. So to do this question, you just need a piece of paper, a ruler and a protractor. And the first thing we do is we draw the 11 centimeter line. And my one will not be 11 centimeters for you. It is on my screen, but because depending on what device you watch this on will change obviously its length. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my protractor on this end here. So I've kind of got my protractor here. And I'm going to just have a look at getting 39 degrees. Now you've got to be careful because 39 is on the inside, and I'm just going to do a dot. So always look to see which one, the inside or the outside of the protractor, starts at 0, and the inside should start at 0 from this side. And I'm just going to draw a line that connects the end of that line and the dot. Like so. Now just you can keep it going. Right, the next thing I'm going to do is put my protractor on the other side. So my protractor is kind of here. And I'm lining up the crosshairs with this point here. But this time I'm measuring on the left hand side. And I'm looking at 59 degrees, which will be here. Get my ruler. Now this time I can actually stop where it hits the other line. So keep going and then stop where it hits the other line. This screen's not perfectly calibrated, so it's difficult to do precise work, something like that. And then what you can do is you can get your rubber and just rub out the extra bit of line that we had to do. And so this is our 39 degrees here, and you don't need to label this on the diagram, but just so we know what we're doing. And it says when it's completed, measure length x. So I'm going to get my ruler out and I'm going to measure this length here, this one here, and it is about 95 millimeters. So the answer for me is 95 millimeters. Now there is some level of precision. You're not going to get necessarily exactly 95 millimeters. When we mark these questions, we normally have an overlay and we put it over the top, and if it's roughly the same, and you can make small errors because nobody's perfect, and my diagram definitely is not perfect, but there are allowable small errors here and there. So when asked to describe a relationship, I always start off the sentence as the amount of, and I pick this one here, the X one, red sweets increase the amount of, and then I pick this one here, green sweets, and this is the only word here that changes. So what we do is we look at what happens as we're going to the right, as red sweets increase, what's happening to the green sweets. Well, the green sweets start really high and then slowly are going down and down. So the word here is decrease. Obviously the other option is that they increase. An increase would be if they ended up making this kind of correlation here. First thing I'm going to do is just draw the square out, and we know the length of it is 10x plus 10, but it is a square, so that's the same all the way around it. But we're also told that the perimeter is 440, so the perimeter is 440. So what we can do is we can work out the perimeter in algebra by multiplying 10x plus 10 by 4, or just adding up the 4 lengths that we've got. So we're going to do 4 times 10x plus 10. But we also know that that is going to be 440 because we're told in the question that the perimeter is 440. So put our lines in because we're going to solve, and we're just going to start by expanding the brackets. So that'll be 40x plus 40 equals 440. Then we're going to get rid of the plus 40 first, so take away 40 both sides. And so that would be 40x equals 400. And then we get rid of the 40 before the x, so we divide both sides by 40. And we've got x equals 10. So our answer is 10. So when we say y is directly proportional to x, what we mean is whenever x doubles, y will double. Whenever x halves, y will halve. Now, we've got this proportionality sign here. And to make that an equals, all we need to do is introduce a k constant to the right-hand side. So it's y equals something times x. Now, to find out what that something is, to find out what that constant is, what we're going to do is feed in the value of y and the value of x that we have. So we're going to feed those in. So y is 55.3 and x is 7. So it would be 7k. And we're just going to put our lines in and solve this. So it's going to be divide by 7 both sides. And 55.3 divided by 7 is 7.9. And that's what k is. So we're going to rewrite this equation here, this formula here, y equals 7.9x. And that is actually our answer. So when you read this question, the question's basically asking you to find the bearing of O from B. So the lifeboat is at B, so I'm going to draw a north line here. And to find a bearing, you start from the north line and you keep going clockwise. So we're going to look for this angle here. Now, this angle, which is given to us in the question, and this angle here, which I'm just going to call x, are going to be equal. So x is going to equal 135 degrees. And the reason for that is we've basically got, and I'm just going to draw or extend the north line down, because we've basically got well, we have a set of parallel lines here, and we have a set of z angles, which we know is alternate angles. So the reason for that is it's alternate angles. And always show the reasons to the examiner. Okay, and so to find out what the bearing is, so the bearing of O from B, it's just going to be 360 take away 135. And the reason for that is angles on a point. We've run out of space. Okay, so we're going to do 360 take away 135, which is 225. And so our answer is 225. So the first thing we need to do is work out the mean for the data in the table. So to start off doing that, we're going to work out the midpoint of each group. So we've got 80 to 85, and to find the midpoint, you add the 80 and the 85 together, then you divide by 2. So this will be 82.5, then 87.5, then 92.5, then 97.5, and then finally 100 plus 105 divided by 2 is 102.5. Next we need to find the FT, which is just the frequency times the duration of calls. Now, in this first group, we're not timesing it by 80 to 85 or anything like that. We're timesing it by the midpoint. So our midpoint effectively becomes the t. So we're going to do 15 times that, which will be 1237.5. And we're just going to keep going and multiplying each of these together. And then finally 2050. Right, next we need to add up the frequencies and add up the FTs. So we're going to have the sum of the frequencies. So I'm just adding all this column up. and that will be 80. And we have sum of the ft, and so we're going to just add this column up here, and so that would be 7,450. So what this column represents is all the numbers added up together. This column represents how many numbers we have. So to find the mean, it's all of the numbers added together, which will be 7,450, over the amount of numbers we have, which is 80. So when you do that, we get 93.125. Now this question is about the improvement that we've made, or that the manager has made, the call centre's made. So we're looking at subtracting the 93.125 away from the last week, which was 105. So we're looking for improvement. And we're going to do 105, take away the 93.125. And that's going to be 11.875. Now it does ask for 2 decimal places, so that will be 11.88. So we're going to start just by writing this out. So m equals 7 brackets x minus 10. And we're going to put our solving lines in. I'm going to start by expanding the brackets. And we don't need to. We could divide both sides by 7, but I think this is a bit easier. And we're going to subtract, or we're going to add 70 to both sides. So we're trying to get x as the subject. So we're trying to get x on its own. And we're next going to divide both sides by 7. So we have m plus 70, all of that over 7 equals x. So x equals m plus 70 over 7. So this question says that Adrian, Ben and Charlie have some sweets, and the ratio of Adrian to Ben to Charlie is 9:6:13. But it also says that Charlie got 56 more sweets than Adrian. So there's 56 more sweets. Well, looking at the actual parts of the ratio, there are 4 more parts. So plus 4 parts, which represents plus 56 sweets. So the 4 extra parts are worth 56 sweets. So 4 parts are worth 56 sweets. So 1 part would be 56 divided by 4, which is 14 sweets. So all we need to do now is work out how many parts there are. Well, there are 9 plus 6 plus 13 parts, which is 28. And each part is worth 14 sweets. So the total number of sweets will be 28 times 14. So 28 times 14 is 392. To find out what the value of x is, we first of all have to find out what the value of y is. And we can notice that we've got 2 sets of parallel lines here, and a line going through them. And we kind of got these f angles, which we have to call corresponding angles. So we know that 2y minus 50 is equal to 78. And we must write down the reason. So corresponding angles. And corresponding angles are equal. Now here we've got an equation and we want to solve it. So we get our lines in. We go first of all add 50 to both sides. So we've got 2y equals 78 plus 50, which would be 128. And then we're going to halve both sides, or divide by 2. So we've got 64. So we know that y is 64. And so we look back at the diagram to find out how we'd work out x. Well, what we can do, there's a few different things we can do. We could work out the fact that these two here are vertically opposite. That would be absolutely fine. But actually, if we look at this part here and this part here, these are also two parallel lines, and we've got this angle here and this angle are going to be alternate. So I can write that down here. So angle ECB is equal to 78 degrees. So this will be 78 degrees. And the reason for that is alternate angles. And then finally, if we know this is 78 and we know that this is 64, because we know what y is, then we can work out what x is. So x equals 180, angles in a triangle, take away the 78 we know and the 64 we know. And the reason for that is angles in a triangle add up to 180 degrees. And just make sure you write down all the reasons as you go. And when we take away the 78 and the 64 from 180, you get 38. So x is therefore 38 degrees. Here we're given two angles on parallel lines, and the parallel lines are here and here. And if we draw the line that they are on, then it creates a little C shape. Now, whenever we were dealing with C angles, we call them either interior, co-interior, or allied angles. And what we know about interior angles, I'm just going to call them, is that they add up to 180. So we can get that 20x, and we can add to the 40x, and we know that that equals 180 degrees. And I need to make sure I write down the reason, because they're interior angles. So here I'm going to be solving this algebra. I'm just get my tramlines in. 20x plus 40x is 60x, equals 180. And we'll divide both sides by 60 to get x on its own. So we can solve it. And we've got x equals 3. So the value of x will be 3. The important thing to realise in this question is that we know a female has been selected. So we can just basically get rid of all of this part of the frequency tree because it's not relevant, because we know a female has been selected. So there's 29 females altogether, and we're looking for the probability that the female chosen at random picked action. So it's just simply 16 over 29. Whenever we do these kind of questions, it's always best to convert the pattern into numbers. So we're just going to count the dots. So we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 in the first one. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So our sequence is going 9, 13, 17. And we're going to see what it's going up in. So we're adding 4 each time. And that means our sequence will involve 4n. And then what we do is we go backwards 1 to find the 0th term. So we're going to take away 1. So 9 take away 1 is 5. So the 0th term is 5. And the 0th term just tells us what to add on to the 4n. So 4n plus 5 will be our answer. There's an awful lot going on in this question. Whenever there's an awful lot going on, it's always best to draw a diagram. So we're going to start off at Chilton, which is a C. Then we go to Bolko, that's where we're going. And we go through Devley on the way. So we'll do D there. Distance from Chilton to Devley is 34 miles. Distance from Devley to Bovlow is 16 miles. So I'm just reading through the question, adding it to my diagram. David leaves Chilton at 9 o'clock. He drives from Chilton to Devley an average speed of 68 miles per hour. And what speed does David travel between Devley and Bolko to arrive at 9:45? So the whole duration of this, the whole thing needs to be 45 minutes. or 0.75 hours. And the entire distance is 34 plus 16, so that would be 50 miles. Okay, now having a look at this, we need to find out what time David was at Devley. So we're going to use our speed, distance, time triangle. So speed equals distance over time. And we're covering up the time, because that's the one we want. So it's going to be time equals distance, which is 34, over speed, which is 68. So we're going to do 34 divided by 68, which is 0.5. So it would be 0.5 hours. So that would be half an hour. So we will be at Devley at 9:30. So that means we've got 15 minutes left. Okay, so we've got 15 minutes to travel the 16 miles. So this time we're looking for the speed. Okay, so it would be speed equals the distance, which is 16 miles, over time, which is 15 minutes, but we need that in hours, so that would be 0.25 hours. And so what we can do here is times top one by 4 to get rid of the fraction. So it becomes 64 over 1, or just 64 miles per hour. So our answer is 64 miles per hour. If we try and visualize this question on a graph, then we've got C, which is somewhere here. So we've got C, which is somewhere here at coordinates 2, minus 12. And we've got D, which is somewhere here at coordinates 8, 4. And we're asked for the length of the line segment. So we're asked for this distance here. Now we can see that we can actually make a right angled triangle with this line segment. And we've got to find out what each of the sides is going to be. So the bottom one starts at x coordinate 2, and D, it goes to x coordinate 8. So it's going to be 8 take away 2, which is going to be 6. So the distance there is 6. And how far does it go up? Well, we've gone from minus 12 to 4, so that's gone up 16. And we know that when we've got a right angled triangle, which this one is, and we're asked for one of the lengths, having given the other two, we're going to be using Pythagoras. So for Pythagoras, label the sides A, B and C, with C being the one opposite the right angle. And we write down the Pythagoras' theorem, which is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. A squared, we've said, is 6, b is 16, and 6 squared plus 16 squared is going to be 292. And then we're just going to quickly solve this by square rooting both sides. And so we're left with 17.088 blah 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 is equal to C. And because it asks it to 2 decimal places, we're going to write the answer of 17.09. We know that when you multiply powers with the same base, and here we've got all these as base V, you add the powers. So we're actually looking at what do we add to 11, which is this one here, to get to the 15. 11 plus 4 is 15. So W therefore equals 4. So we're told that Y is proportional directly to X. So what I'm going to do is just replace that proportionality sign for an equals, and I'm going to times the right hand side by K to be able to do that. Okay, we're told that X is 4 when Y is 9.6, so we're going to put in 9.6 for Y. I'm going to put in 4 for X to be able to find out what K is. And K is a constant, which means it will always stay the same. So once we find it, we only need to find it once, and we found it forevermore. So that's going to be 2.4. And I'm just going to rewrite this equation here, but we know what K is now. We know it's 2.4. and I'm going to find out what y is when x is 5. So y equals 2.4 times 5, which will equal 12. So we know that y is 12. So we've got a right angle triangle and we're given two lengths and we're asked to find a third length, and that means we're going to be using Pythagoras' theorem. And to do that, we're just going to label the sides A, B and C, and C must be the hypotenuse, which is opposite the right angle. Pythagoras' theorem says that a squared plus b squared equals c squared. A we can see is 3.4, b is 5.2. And we're looking for what c squared is. So 3.4 squared plus 5.2 squared is 38.6. And we need to solve to find out what c is. And to do that, what we do is we just square root both sides. So square root of 38.6 is 6.212 blah blah blah. And c squared, the square root of that is c. So it's two decimal places, it's going to be 6.21. So for this question we need to understand the different types of graphs from different functions. So if we have a reciprocal graph, it looks something like this and like this. It could be the other way around and it could be distorted, but it basically goes down to a point along here. It goes to infinity and it goes to infinity along a point over here, and obviously those positions could change. Then we've got a linear graph. A linear graph is just any straight line, so just any kind of straight line, either up or down, and this doesn't look like either of those. Then we've got a exponential graph. An exponential graph just starts really small and then just really increases like that and just keeps going up. And here we kind of have that, obviously the other way around, it starts going down. But here it's actually going up, so it can't be a reciprocal graph. So the graph that this is, or could be, is a quadratic graph because it's a nice U shape. So if we carry this on, it could be a nice U shape. It could also be a cubic graph as well. So it could go up and then down and then up, and that's a cubic graph. But the most obvious one is a quadratic graph. So quadratic function. To find the exterior angle of any polygon, we do 360 divided by the amount of sides. These are decagons, which means they have 10 sides. So the exterior angles will be 36 degrees. And an exterior angle is just an angle that kind of continues on. You just continue on from the side. So this one here is the exterior angle of the left-hand decagon, and this one here is the exterior angle on the right-hand decagon. So altogether, the angle A will be 36 plus 36, which will be 72. So our answer will be 72 degrees. Factorising is the opposite of expanding, so instead of multiplying something out of a bracket, we're putting it in a bracket. I'm going to start just by putting the bracket down. And we're going to ask ourselves, what number can we divide out of 18 and 33? And we need the biggest number we can divide out of both of them. So we're essentially looking for its highest common factor. So 18 and 33, that would be 3. And there's no letter we can divide out of both of them because 33 doesn't have a letter. Next we ask ourselves, 3 times what is 18x? Well, 3 times 6 is 18. 3 times 6x will be 18x. Then we ask ourselves, what times 3 is 33? And that's obviously going to be 11. And you can expand that. 3 times 6x is 18x. 3 times 11 is 33. So we know we've got the right answer. So our answer is 3 brackets 6x plus 11. When working out if two triangles are congruent, which means they're the same, you can either have RHS, which is a right angle hypotenuse side. You can have 3 sides that are the same. You can have 2 angles then a side, or an angle then a side then an angle, or you can have a side then an angle then a side. In this question we have a right angle. We only have 2 sides, so we can cross this one out. And if you look, that the 2 sides are next to each other than the angle. So it's ASS or SSA. So these don't really fit. But the angle is a right angle. So we've got a right angle on both of them. We have the hypotenuse. And we have a different side that are all equal. So the proof here is RHS. With this question, you've just got to know what the different functions look like. So with C and D, we've got quadratic functions. One's a positive quadratic, which is a U shape. One's a negative quadratic, which is a kind of upside down U shape or an N shape. And here we don't have that. So we can get rid of those in our thoughts straight away. A is a positive cubic, which goes up, then down, then up again. And B is a negative cubic, which goes down, up, and then down again. So this one here goes up, down, up again. That's going to be a positive cubic. So our answer is A. So the way this formula works is we have M, which is the final amount. The 2000 here is our initial amount. The decimal in here is our multiplier, and the power here is the amount of years. So the way multipliers work is they are the percentage divided by 100. So if we go the other way and times it by 100 to make it back into a percentage, it will be 102.9%. Now it says, what is the interest rate of the bank? Well, the interest rate is always going to be 100%. Well, this 102.9% is 100% plus the interest rate, which will equal the 102.9%. So the interest rate is going to be the 2.9%. You always start off with 100%. So if I put £5 into my bank, I've got 100% of that £5, and then the interest rate is on top of that 100%. So our answer here will be 2.9%. To find the resultant vector, we just get the two vectors and we add the tops and add the bottoms. And it's a plus minus 13, so it's 9 take away 13. When we do that, we get 13 at the top and minus 4 at the bottom. So we're going to first of all draw a tree diagram for this information. You don't have to, but it is easier to understand what's going on. And so the first choice will be the first pick. It'll either be male or female. And the second choice will be the same, male and female. And looking at the questions, there are 3 male names in the hat and 5 names in total. So the fractions for the first one will be 3 over 5. If there's 3 male names, there'll be 2 females. Now, if we've picked a male name already, there'll be 2 left and 4 left in total. If we haven't picked a female, there's still 2 females, but there's 4 left in total. If we picked a female, there'd still be 3 males and only 4 left in total, but there'd only be 1 female left. 1 female name left and 4 left in total. Okay, we're looking for the probability that the genders of the names are different. So looking at the outcomes, the outcome here would be male-male. That's not what we're interested in. Here would be male-female, we are interested in. Female-male, we are interested in. And female-female, we're not interested in. So we're not interested in these ones. And the way that tree diagrams work is as you go along the tree, any fractions you go across, you multiply together to find the outcome. So this will be 3 over 5 times 2 over 4. And I realise I could cancel 2 over 4, but I generally cancel at the end. So 3 times 2 is 6, 5 times 4 is 20. We're going to do the same with the other root. So 2 over 5 times 3 over 4. So 2 over 5 times 3 over 4, 3/4. That would be 6 over 20. Now we're looking to see whether it was male and female or female and male. And the word or in probability means add. So it'd be 6 over 20 plus 6 over 20. And this is the probability of different, which will be 12 over 20. Now 12 over 20 will cancel to 3 over 5, or 3/5. So this question is a simultaneous equations question. And so we're going to have to write down some equations. So it says 2 apples and 3 pears cost £3.80. So 2 apples, I'm going to call it A for the price of an apple, plus 3 pears, so 3p, cost £3.80. Now I'm going to do this as 380 just because it's easier to work with integers rather than decimals. And it says 3 apples, so 3a, plus 8 pears costs £7.80, or 780 pence. Okay, so the first thing I do is try and get these numbers the same. So 3 and 8, they both go into 24, so I need to make them both 24. And what some people do is they just label this A and this B. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to multiply everything in equation A by 8, so that this becomes 24. So it's going to become 8a. And so we're going to times the 2a by 8, which will be 16a plus 24p, and 380 times 8 is 3040. And we're going to do the same with b, but this time we're going to times it by 3, so we're going to have 3b. And we're just going through everything here and we're timesing it by 3. So 9a plus 24p, which is good, that's what we wanted. And 780 times 3 is 2340. So now we've got both of these the same coefficient. What we can do is we can eliminate going downwards. Now, if they are the same, the s in same is the s in subtract. If they were different signs, so if these weren't both positive, if one of them was negative, different, the d in different is the d in add. So here they are the same, so we are going to subtract, and we're going to subtract going downwards. So we're going to start off by doing, and I can just do a little line here to show what we're doing. So we're subtracting going downwards, and we're going to do 16a take away 9a, which will be 7a. 24p take away 24p, which is nothing, which is why we did that, is to eliminate them. And then 3040 take away 2340 will be 700. Then I can put my lines in, and all I need to do now is just divide both sides by 7, and I get a equals 100. So we know that apples cost 100, or £1. We need to work out what pears cost. So I just need to pick one of the equations. I'm just going to pick this top one here, and I'm going to write it out. But instead of a, we know that a is £1, or 100 pence. So plus 3p equals 380. So that's going to be 200 plus 3p is 380. And then again, I'm just going to draw my lines down. And we're going to subtract 200 from both sides. So it's going to be 3p equals 180. And then we're going to just divide by 3 both sides. And we've got p equals 60. So a pear costs 60. Now we can check this by using the other equation there. So 3 times 100 is 300, plus 8 lots of 60 is going to be, what's that, 480? So it's going to be 780. So we know that we've got it right. So we can't work out length CE directly, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by finding length BC. And I'm going to do that using trigonometry. So we've got the 90 degrees there. So it will be, well, we'll start by labeling it. So BC is the hypotenuse, the opposite here and adjacent here. We're not using the adjacent. So we're going to just do our SOHCAHTOA, and we've crossed out the A, so we cross out these two. So it's going to be sine. So we know that sine 79 equals the opposite, which is 29 over the BC. So I'm going to put my solving lines in. And we need to times both sides by BC first of all. So we end up with BC sine 79 equals 29. And we're just going to divide both sides by sine 79. Just a bit of rearranging. So BC will be 29 over sine 79. And when you do that on the calculator, you get 29.542, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so next thing we need to figure out is angle BCE. So where are we? This angle here. And to work that out, we're just going to take 79 away from 90. So angle BCE is 90, take away 79, and that's going to be 11. So we know this is 11 degrees here. And we have enough information now to work out CE, because we've got this triangle here, and we've got this length here, the BC, and we've got this angle here. So we've got enough information now. So we're going to look for length CE. We're going to first of all label the sides. So we've got the opposite here, the hypotenuse opposite the right angle here, and the adjacent here. So this hypotenuse is now an adjacent. We're not using the opposite at all, but we are looking for the hypotenuse. So let's do our little triangles now, find out which one we're using. So we're not using O, so we get rid of sine and tan, and it's going to be a cos. So it's going to be cos 11 equals the adjacent, which is the BC value we've just worked out, over the hypotenuse, which is CE. Now hopefully you've realised from when we did it with the sine thing here, that actually we can just swap these two things over. So we can have it as CE equals 29.542 blah 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 over cos 11. Okay, then we put that into our calculator and we get the answer of 30.095 blah blah blah, and it wants it to one decimal place, so that will be 30.1. So we're going to start off with 100%. And it says that the card depreciates. That means goes down by, so it goes down by 1.7% every year. So we do 100 take away 1.7, which is 98.3, and that's percent. And we want that as a decimal, or as a multiplier we call it. And so we just divide it by 100 to make it into a decimal, 0.983. And that's our multiplier. And the beautiful thing about a multiplier is we just need the amount of years. Well, it says from 1980 to 1985, so that's going to be 5 years. So it's going to be 5 years. And so what we do is we get the original amount, which was 2,245, and times it by the multiplier 5 times. Now, I can't be bothered on my calculator to times it by 0.983 5 times. So what you can do is you can do it to the power of 5, which basically means the same thing. And that gives us 2060.553. And when we round that, that would be £2,060 and 55 pence. It's sometimes easier in these questions to view these triangles as two separate triangles rather than one triangle. So we're kind of just going to split this triangle off and just move it to the side so we can see what's going on. I'm going to do the same with the smaller triangle and kind of move that to the side. So we can see we've got two triangles here. We've got a big triangle and a small triangle. And we can label the sides of them as 18. Now this long length would be 20 plus x, 20 centimeters plus x. Then we've got 6 here and we've got x here. Now the two triangles are similar because the sides here we assume are, we know they are parallel because they are right angles, and they share an angle here, which we can just label as A, and so they are definitely similar, which means that one is an enlargement of the other. So we need the scale factor first. Now if you look at the 6 and the 18, they are what we call corresponding sides. So we need to work out the scale factor by finding out what I multiply the 6 by to get to the 18. Well, that's obviously going to be 3. So we now know that we can times the x by 3 to get to the 20 plus x. So we can write that down. 3x, I'm timesing the x by 3, and that will give me 20 plus x. And so I can solve this now. Subtract x both sides. Always subtract the smaller amount, so 2x equals 20. And then divide both sides by 2. And so we've got x equals 10. So we know that x equals 10, it says find the length x, and so that will be 10. So here we've got a right angle triangle, and we've got two lengths and an angle involved, so it's going to be trigonometry that we're going to be using. And the first step of trigonometry is label the sides. So the one opposite the right angle is the hypotenuse, opposite the marked angle is the opposite, and the one between the right angle and the marked angle is the adjacent. So here we're going to cross out the hypotenuse because it doesn't have a number or a letter next to it, so we're not using it in this question. Next thing we're going to do is write out our triangles, our SOHCAHTOA triangles. So we're going to have SO, actually I normally put this in purple, so why not? SO, CA, and TOA. And we cross out the H, so it's not going to be SO, and it's not going to be CA, so it's a TOA question. And TOA is short for tan x equals opposite over adjacent. And our angle is actually x, so when we substitute in the values, it's going to be tan x equals, and the opposite is 6.3, and the adjacent is 3.2. And we're going to put our solving lines in. We're going to get x on its own, and to do that, we're going to do the opposite of tan both sides, which is called the inverse tan. We're going to do the inverse tan both sides, and to do that, what you do is you press shift or second function tan on your calculator. And then we get x equals, so the inverse tan 6.3 over 3.2, which is going to be 63.072, blah, blah, blah. And to two decimal places, it will be 63.07. So what I'm going to do is work out how I get from my centre of enlargement to each of the vertices on our shape. And so I'm going to pick the bottom left one first. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 jumps to the left. Now with a scale factor of a third, instead of 6 jumps to the left, it's going to be a third of that for our new image. So instead of 6 to the left, it's only going to be 2. So our new point will be here. And we're going to do the same to the top left one. This is going to take a bit of time, but that's fine. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So instead of 12 up, we're looking for our new one to be a third of that, which would be 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So it would be on the x-axis. And we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to the left. And again, instead of 6 to the left, it's going to be a third of that, which would be 2. So our new point will be here. And so if we draw in the new shape, let's make sure we try and do it as neat as possible, then it will be this bit here. And it says to label it B, so we'll put a B on it. You can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our onmaths site. onmaths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions, and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing.